Okay, I believe we are live.
Hello and
Hello.
welcome to the 43rd episode of Unifying Force. I'm Kat, joined by Dave and Gio. How is everybody?
Hey,
Doing well this morning, thank you.
really good. Excited for today's episode. Celebration special.
Absolutely. There were like just a ton of crazy, important, fantastical, nutso announcements at Celebration. Just woo.
Yeah, for sure. It was coming kind of thick and fast, I find. I guess the experience is really different depending on how you spent celebration. And I think that works for whether you were there in real life or watching at home and the way you kind of consumed the content over the celebration weekend, if that's something you chose to do. Because um, just going through like some of the Q&As that we have prepared ahead for today's show, I think there's equal value in finding out, what do people think about Celebration 2023 in Europe? Who were there? What were their highlights? What do they like? What they didn't like? Who they were most excited to see? But a lot of these questions are equally valid if you were, just watching on YouTube at home, whether it was the full live stream, 6 hours on day one through to day four, or whether you're just watching, like clips on YouTube, whether it's shorts or reels or whatever Star Wars official pumped out during the event itself. So I think it was really nice to see that both sides of the Atlantic and everyone around the world, I think I felt for the first time really engaged in celebration for the first time maybe since peak of the pandemic. This one really felt global to me.
Yeah, is I absolutely loved the stream. I think I
Right.
sat down on day one and watched the entire 6 or 7 hours or whatnot, and
Right.
did
Yeah.
not get
Yeah.
it's there. Um,
Yeah.
and so much stuff coming out of, we didn't get to see everything that
Mm.
people there got to see that got into the panels and this and that, but I mean, we got to see so much and so much from the live stage and all of that. So it
Yeah.
was
Pretty
special.
good. Yeah, definitely. I thought it was amazing because um one thing that was a huge issue with being there IRL is nothing to do with celebration itself or London or Europe. It's purely to do with the logistics of the Excel Center. It's notorious for having really, really awful data signal.
Mm.
And when you've got a peak capacity crowd for a massive event, and celebration is international, the whole venue is being used, and there's only one free public Wi-Fi network. So everyone has their mobile phones and cell phones. We say mobile phones, you guys say cell. That's almost out of play from the off. But then the fact that there's one Wi-Fi network for the gigantic kind of stadium amphitheaters that you have for just the celebration stage and every stage and the entire center itself, it means that once I think you have 5,000 people on the Wi-Fi network, that's it. And 4,500 people was capacity just for the celebration stage itself. So you can imagine how hard it was just to find someone that you are with as soon as you lost them for 30 seconds in the crowd. That was it. It was over. Um, but and I think it's fun to laugh at it now, but oh, it was so frustrating on the day. Everyone felt it. And that's why I definitely hear you about watching the live streams at home, because I managed to get through to some of you guys just through Messenger, and but I'd get messages kind of here and there sporadically. And sometimes you guys would be live streaming or watching it kind of an hour behind, but still kind of on demand as the stream was continuing, as celebration was live on that day as well. And you guys would know things that were going on that I didn't, and I was right there.
You were right there.
And I was like, what? And oh, and then sometimes you'd be like, oh, did you see that bit with, oh my God, Diego Luna's there? And I was like, yeah, I know he has to be here, but I didn't see anything. I haven't seen him. Where is he? I'm at the stage. Where? It was bananas.
Yeah,
Um,
we were trying to message some people back and forth, and it
yeah,
was It's like, no, go to the live stage. No, they're there.
Yeah. Is that a celebration, tradition that people are like running back and forth trying to decide how do I spend my time? Is celebration stage, or do I go to celebration live? Do I go to the galaxy stage? There was a lot of crisscrossing, people running back and forth through the center, trying to, off the cuff decide which queue they think would be most likely for them to get in for a seat on the
So I've
panel.
only done one. I've only been to one celebration, but I did notice that a lot every time I would walk past the live stage, and I'd kind of, because the way Anaheim was laid out is the live stage is near the autograph and the photo op area. So anytime I had any one of those, it's
Makes
like,
sense.
what's going on? What's over there? Oh, maybe I need to slide in here for a little bit.
Yeah. Right. That makes a lot of sense. Here, the live stage was in one corner, and it was not in the same gigantic hall as the ops, the photo ops, the auto ops. So even if so there was no way of having that kind of you're enjoying and you're in the line, you're hyped for this one thing, but you can look over and see on the other side of the room or the hall, you can see what's going on from afar. It was kind of a bit more boxed in, which was it was neat in a way, because in a sense it focuses everyone's energy on the specific thing you were there for. But the drawback is you don't have the freedom to enjoy two things at once. You can't be like, I'm in the line for this panel, but I can see on the gigantic screen, oh wow, Diego Luna's on the live stage. I can bring people and say, get to the live stage now. Bask in the glory of Diego. Because
Well, and it looked to me
don't
like
have that
from
view.
online, just what we were watching, that the live stage was a commitment, that once you got packed in there, you weren't getting back out. Like it wasn't a drive by, a cruise through, a pop in and have my little corner. No, you were on the live stage. You were going to be on the live there for a while, because it appeared a cast of thousands, literally.
Yeah. That's exactly right. The live stage, I think maybe last year was the kind of hidden gem of celebration, even though it's famous and it's being live streamed on YouTube. But when you were there, I think this is one of the best in-person experiences, because of the energy, because of the vibe, because you're actually physically there and you're seeing someone with your eyes and hearing them with your ears, not just on your laptop or on your battle station at work or home, streaming it 2,000 miles away. But it seems like the cat was out of the bag before celebration even started this year. I saw on our big our big Facebook community group that a lot of people, when they were giving like tips and tricks ahead of time, and this was from everyone, from like new followers and new members of the group to our own virtual cantina mods and admins doing the official, this is how to make the most of celebration. Celebration Live was always one of the first mentions. It's like, get to the live stage, check it out, because there are no tickets, it's free, and you're basically there and you can see people and hear these kind of organic interviews happen while you're in the crowd. Whereas for everything else, and definitely at 2023 this time, which was different to 2016, you had to queue for everything else. Whether you had the ticket already, whether you won the ballot and you were the force was with you when you entered the draw, or whether you were in the standby lines, there were queues up the wazoo, out the door and round and snaking. It was like it was like Tetris trying to fit people into a single line, a column or a row. So it was a relief to have an area that allowed you that almost live panel feel, but not have go through the ordeal of queuing. And I say that lightly because there's an ongoing trope just in London and in the UK generally about queuing. The classic thing is, we're British, we love a good queue. We'll be
heard that.
Yeah, we'll be silent. We will not say anything. We will just be there quietly waiting our time, biding our time, and form an orderly line. And in London, it's always you queue. Yeah, there's even an etiquette to taking the tube and using public transport. It follows the way you drive. So if you want to go ahead, you're on the left. But if you want to wait patiently in line, you're on the right. And that's an unwritten rule of London. And it was funny because I could see some people were trying to keep that etiquette in the queue in celebration. And some people were like, this is a free-for-all, man. I don't know what's going on. I'm just here because I have an auto, and I don't know who you are. I'm here for
That's what happens when you allow Americans into your country. We're not going to go by your social norms.
Yeah.
We're going to bring
Yeah.
ours over there.
Yeah, we're gonna bring our culture to you. Yeah, that's the amazing thing, because I think the US is awesome in that, there's so many states, and each state has kind of, in a way, its own manners and etiquette. So when you travel across the US, you can be like, oh wow, this is really the Southern hospitality I've ever heard about, or this is not the experience that I knew. And it's like that on a much tinier scale in the UK. So if you just have a convention for the whole of the UK, you get that kind of cultural wow mishmash. You add Europe, you've got everything, and then you bring in North America, US and Canada, Mexico. That's why I say this was the first time I felt consuming the stuff online and hearing about it and being in the conversation a lot more for this event, and also being there in person. This is the most international it's felt for a Star Wars celebration, in my humble opinion. And I think that was a huge strength for the event, because everyone brings their own energy.
And I can only imagine how that's going to go and how the energy is going to be even more different in Tokyo.
Right.
If you bring in all of Asian culture and social norms and this to that, and there will be Americans, and we're already hearing rumors of a huge British contingent like chartering planes to Tokyo.
Right. Yes. Oh man, I came across another one of those posts just a little bit earlier today.
Yeah.
And the algorithm's weird, right? The algo on all social medias is so inconsistent, and you can be scrolling in your feed and you're a member of a group, or you're one of the founders of the community of the group, you're a mod, you're an admin. You scroll once and you'll never see some of the posts that you've seen ever again, even though it's meant to be chronologically put. So it is very weird, but I've seen many of those posts. We're gonna get a flight together. It's a Star Wars Celebration airline, and we're gonna charter a plane from London to Tokyo. And I know it was I think someone had a huge, I don't recall the name. If either of you do, feel free to chime in. The first person who posted it, who had like thousands of likes and thousands of comments on his OP, who first suggested let's book a flight just for celebration. But I came across another one of those just an hour ago, and that one had hundreds of comments on. And not just people saying following or saved, but people actually like discussing the logistics.
Well, when those are official, when those are properly vetted and those happen, find them on the page. We will have them there, and we'll do our best to help people get to Tokyo. Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's start talking about like Celebration 23 review, and we'll start at the beginning. We'll start with that Lucasfilm panel, because I think that's where a lot of the major announcements came from. Bear with us and let us know in the comments what this looks like technologically. We're gonna give her a shot here at showing you some of the moments from that first panel.
Let's do it.
Boom. All right, friends, neighbors, everybody. Hopefully what you are seeing is a random starfield right now.
Yeah, we're about to jump to hyperspace.
Woo! Hyperspace and go.
Punch it, Chewie.
So big announcements in Lucasfilm is Andor season 2.
Right. Right.
We've talked about and how much we loved 1. What are our thoughts on season 2? What's going on? What do we think?
Well, then they say that each thing is going to be like 3 episodes telling a story set in 1 year, and then there's going to be like a time jump, and then another 3 episodes in another year, time jump, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that was officially announced. I don't know if that was officially announced at the Lucasfilm panel because I didn't win the lottery, luckily enough.
Yeah.
But it was discussed explicitly several times through the event, and I was lucky enough to be part of the making of Andor specific panel, which was absolutely incredible, a real highlight for me. And Diego discussed that at length there. The rumors that we heard and some reports that were early were confirmed. So we're going to have a lot of time jumps sequentially through season 2, taking us right up to the moment that we see to the events of beginning Rogue One. So the full chronology over a couple of years will be there.
I hope they go about answering some of the other questions from season 1, because it's like, we know Andor came from a mining planet, but given that his mother's dead now, it doesn't seem like there's any importance to address why she was so worried about people finding out where he came from specifically. And then, I mean, I take it they'll wrap up all the, because they already knew going into it that there were only going to be 2 seasons, so I take it they'll wrap them up nicely. I didn't see I didn't hear about highlights from the panel, so I don't know any other specifics that they announced other than season 2 is already filming.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I want to see some more flashbacks about childhood. I want to see young Cassian again. I met him at Rhode Island Comic-Con and was very impressed by him. I want to see more. I want to know what that storyline entailed, and we need to know what happened to the sister. We need to know what happened to the sister. We need to know what happened to the sister.
We do. Star Wars, I mean, to quote Vin Diesel from a different franchise, it's about family. So, you know, if Cassian has family, whether it's his original group on his home planet or his adopted family, you know, in Maeve, we need to hear all the backstory. Give us all the lore. I want all the lore on Cassian Andor.
Oh, I like that. That was very Dr. Seussy right there.
Okay, so we have some slightly famous people here, I think. Is that right?
Yes. But I mean, I thought this panel looked great. I wish and hope and think, but I don't think they will, because I don't think they ever release really tape of the first panel. I want to see this whole thing is what was announced and what was there. I think they did a really good job, again, with some parts of this, bringing it out to the live stage, and we heard about a lot of it. I wanted more from Andor. There was some of that coming out there, but I wanted to hear more about what went on with the Andor panel and announcements.
Agreed. I think that the biggest drawback of Celebration, whether you're in person really there or watching at home, is the Lucasfilm panel. It seems to be, the Lucasfilm is called the showcase. It's the AAA event of the day, of the opening day, but I think of the entire weekend itself. And I think it would be awesome if that would be live streamed on YouTube. I know that there are many reasons logistically in terms of marketing and so on why they might not do that, but I think it's a bit of a shame to not have that on the opening day, because that panel streamed alone could put so many eyeballs on Celebration for the next 3 or 4 days, just the announcements from that. So it deserves its own big top billing, the same way that it's the top billing of day 1. I think it should be the top billing of the live streaming. So if you're not at Celebration itself, I think it's kind of Disney Lucasfilm missing a trick there, because everything huge came out of the Lucasfilm showcase in terms of announcements. I think most people's top 3 or top 5 big things, new things, all came from there.
Well, I think here's a thing that you just kind of quasi hit on there, is I think Disney is missing a trick by not streaming this on D+. You know, if you want to give us the exclusive content, yes, keep with YouTube for the live stage and this and that and the other, but give us the panels on D+. That would be an incentive for me to go out and get it if I didn't already.
Yeah, and it's like once Celebration, you could keep it exclusive for the weekend of Celebration, and then the week after, just put it online on Disney+. You're right, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, 100%. I did not think of that for a single microsecond, but yeah, that it's actually insane that they don't do that already.
And for the people at home, you figured they would want, okay, if you're not going to stream the panel, live stream it, then make some different type of simultaneous announcement to the people at home so they have a more fun way of hearing what the announcement is than some random post on Twitter, which is basically what happened. That's where I got most of the information from because of the time change. But even then there was, and you would even think because of the time change that you've had several hours now to come up with a nice presentation for the people at home and you haven't done it. It's just like going to whatever Twitter or entertainment website that's printing it. It's like, that's kind of odd, you know?
Yeah, that brings me to my next question, actually. I've been meaning to ask both of you directly. When I was able to message you guys back and forth when I was there on day one, and it seemed like you knew some of these events going on as I did, you were finding them out at the same time. Was that because you were watching on the YouTube Star Wars official full live stream, or was it because you guys were checking Twitter and seeing the announcements on Twitter?
I didn't start checking coverage each day until what would be 4:30 in the afternoon London time, because I would get up around 8:30. So all the announcements for the day pretty much had already been made by the time I jumped on. And what I would do is I would turn on the live stream, which would be near the tail end of the broadcast because it's 4:30 in London. I would just rewind it back to the beginning and watch it again. But even then, on the first day, the live stream didn't start till after the Lucasfilm showcase panel. And during some of the interviews on the live stage, you would hear the hosts mention something like off the cuff rather than, because obviously if you're on Celebrate, even if they didn't live stream the showcase to the people who are not in the actual room where the showcase was playing, they would usually make an announcement like on the PA system or whatever to the people on the Celebration floor or whatever about, hey, what the big announcement is or whatnot. But the thing about the live stream at home is that it was pretty much exclusively focused on just the Celebration stage. And they didn't like take a camera around and show you the exhibit hall floor or the other stuff that was very briefly. They would cut away maybe once every few hours. You would get an interview like with droid builders or with seeing the exclusive t-shirts, and they would make jokes about, yeah, this stuff is only available for the people at the con. Sorry, but we're going to interview them about it anyway, which was fun.
Yeah.
I still like seeing this stuff, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But they didn't do like a formal announcement on the show stage about, or on the live stage about what was announced at the Lucasfilm panel. It's just whoever came out onto the live stage afterwards to be interviewed, the host would talk about it in like past tense as if everybody already knew what the announcement was. And I'm like, no, I don't know what it is. What is it? And I'm like, oh,
exactly, right.
I'm like, oh, that's Lars Mikkelsen. Why is he here? And it's like, oh, he's going to be there. It's like, okay, thanks for telling me.
Yeah, you didn't.
It was a lot of that.
You didn't hype that up enough. What?
We had to kind of glean little bits.
Yeah.
So, because I was watching it live because I was up earlier and I had the day off that day. So that's Friday.
That's what I assumed, because the three of us were talking, messaging all at the same time together, obviously, and one of you would say something that I had just seen, and I was thinking, wow, are you actually here? And the other one would be like, no, I haven't. What? I haven't. And I was like, okay, I know there's a time distance East Coast to West Coast. One of you is going to be live streaming it right now. One of you's watching on demand, catch up, like an hour or so.
That was how it was.
But that's exactly
Cat was at a different point in the live stream. I was watching the live stream from the live stream. And it was funny. Completely different situation on Monday because I was at work on Monday. So I couldn't watch it live. So I'm catching up later because we had the Celebration Nightly News later that night to go on. And it's like,
of course. Yeah. You had a live CNN every night of Celebration.
Was.
But your news anchor caps on.
Yeah, but I still very much enjoyed it. And I think Andor was one thing, but the content that we got from the Acolyte.
Right. So are these, just to clarify, because I wasn't there, I didn't win the ballot, the Force was not with me before Celebration. Are these all images from the showcase panel? Yeah.
Yes, these are
Okay,
images
awesome.
to my best knowledge from the showcase panel. These are ones that I've gathered from other members who were there and from the page itself.
Sure.
So yeah, these are images of the Acolyte panel at Lucasfilm and stuff that we've seen maybe from the live stage or this or that. This is an official one off of StarWars.com of the cast.
Oh, not too bad at all.
No.
Too bad at all.
And just
yeah. I think okay, guys, tell me, because I wasn't there on the showcase, but in doing the little survey that I did that we'll get to a little later, about our personal takeaways from Celebration, whether we were there in real life or at home, as in like our highlights, it came to my mind that quite a few people were saying, actually, in terms of the question, what do you wish you had heard more about that we didn't find out about? The Acolyte came up quite a few times, and that really surprised me, because being there in person, there was a lot of the Acolyte IRL, which makes, and I say that because on Friday, day one, we were at the live stage for much of the day. So we saw a lot of that. We had all the buzz, and we saw most of the big time guests as they came out. And it was interesting because some of the guests beforehand, they would announce on these huge flashing screens, upcoming next is, and everyone starts rubbing their hands and shouting, let's get to the live stage. And other times it would just be one of the StarWars.com YouTube hosts come out on stage, say hi, warm the fans up a little bit, and then say, we're bringing on someone now, and they'll either do like a little mysterious intro, kind of a little bit of their IMDb highlights, so that big, like, people in the deep cut fandom knows, okay, so I can work out who it's going to be as the mystery guest to be announced. And then I realized the YouTube live stream wasn't fully on Celebration live stage all day on day one. They actually jumped back and forth. And I think that's an interesting strategy, because the Celebration live stage is such an event itself, if you're there in person, that you could fully warrant a 6-hour just continuous camera stream of the live stage for all 4 days. And all the stuff I know about the Acolyte was on day one from the live stage. And I saw all of the people that we're seeing here. Every single one of them was interviewed on day one. And to my knowledge, it doesn't sound like from what you guys told me and from the little survey, that I don't think most of those conversations weren't on the live stream from YouTube of day one itself as it happened. And that did surprise me, because I think there's a lot of new faces here, Star Wars fans, and there's a lot of new upcoming talent that have been kind of harvested by Lucasfilm to be in the Acolyte, and they deserve the hype. And you feel that when you're there, but you don't get that if you can't watch it at home.
So I think we got a lot of Acolyte content on day one and day two on the live stream. And I have no way of knowing what was actually happening on the live stage at the time, right? I didn't have someone who was right there to be able to tell me, oh, that didn't actually happen on day one, that happened on day two, or that didn't actually happen on day two, that was from day one. So I assumed that what I saw was happening on the day. But there were several interviews with a couple of cast members on the Friday. And then as well, when I was watching on the Saturday, I think Eunice was interviewed more than once on his new role, which I think is going to have so much interesting content that we're going to have, and he is so excited to be, he's out, he's making lightsaber noises, he's making Wookiee noises. He's absolutely all about it.
He is in his element.
Yes, and I absolutely love that we saw the young lady that's front and center, who I don't even know her name yet, but she's not playing Padme. She's just there as a cast member of a Star Wars property, cosplaying as Padme because she wants to. That's exactly that's a whole level of excitement, is that the Star Wars people are Star Wars fans now, the actors in the Star Wars,
Yeah. I think, that's really it, isn't it? If you want to make a good Star Wars property, new or old, whether it's kind of retro going back to in and around the Skywalker saga or somewhere totally new in the timeline, and that conversation is now official. We get to talk about new timeline parts because we had some announcements about that too. Um, get the people who live and breathe Star Wars. If they're in the creative field and they live and breathe Star Wars and they're available and their agents express interest, get them in the room, get them involved creatively somehow, whether it's cast or crew, whether it's top billing as the main actor in a series, or whether it's key grip A. The people who live and breathe Star Wars, their midichlorians talk to them. Those are the people that will they'll give 100% to make the best Star Wars content they can. And seeing somebody in cosplaying as Padme Amidala, senator from some of the most iconic parts of Natalie Portman's Star Wars career, was amazing. And when she walked out, the roof blew off. A lot of people didn't know who she were. They were thinking almost, is that an incredible cosplayer? Because when you're there live, you don't actually see, only 1/4 of the Celebration live audience get to see the interviewers and the talent head on. It's quite weird. They've got 3/4 of it where, because of the curvature of their chairs, you don't really see their faces. They're there, you're hearing them, you're physically there, you have the vibes in the room. But you look at the gigantic TV screens up, left, and right to actually see the expressions on their faces, because I think it's a Navarro themed stage, isn't it? Celebration Live. It's the exact same production they had. Yeah, it's the exact same production, if I recall correctly, as the Anaheim live stage. It looks like they just dragged and copied and pasted it almost. To my knowledge, it looks exactly the same. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did, ship it over. But yeah, the crowd went wild when they saw someone who's actually in a Star Wars new series is cosplaying, 1, and then cosplaying as Padme, 2. Because I think we're now at that stage in Star Wars fandom where the prequels of the 3 trilogies might have the most positive and passionate, loud fan base of them all. I think we're really in peak prequel era, given my personal experience of Star Wars Celebration 2023. So yeah, that you're going to have millions of Star Wars fans who will watch The Acolyte just because they saw one of the main casts.
I think that they saw that, and that they've built on, because The Acolyte is part of the High Republic. We've got a lot of built-in High Republic fans going on. They've been very smart with it. Okay, they've built in that it's a new Star Wars property with a new type of non-Skywalker family story. They've included a Star Wars beloved cast member. We've got Eunice in there again in another property. So you don't just have, it's having a whole new cast without having a whole new cast. He's there in a carry through, but it's not a same character. So he's completely and totally new as well. So you got a little bit of all of this. And I think that one's going to be an exciting one to see where they go with. And it's going to be an unexpected one to see where they go with it.
Yeah. Kat, I was wondering, what do you think of the idea when in Star Wars you get a recurring actor who is actually playing a different character in the kind of Star Wars universe? Do you think that's something that can work well if it's somebody who's in costume or you never see their face? Or could it work well?
If you want, you could just even if it's enough of a makeup job, you could cast the same person. Like, why not? Or like, I know the James Bond franchise is famous for that. They would recast the same actors in different roles all the time, and you'd recognize them. Exactly. It's like, whatever.
That's exactly why I asked.
If they're good, then let them. It's like, if they're good actors, then let them do it. Especially if it's different eras of Star Wars. Just make sure with the costumes and the setting that it's abundantly clear from the start that this is a different person and not a clone or a twin or anything like that. Then yeah, fine with it. Go for it.
Yeah, as we've
sure.
had Mark Hamill in several other little cameo roles that has been well made up and
Yeah.
made appearances in things. I would love to be actually in the last couple of live watch-alongs that we've done. We've been on with some of the stars of there and talking about, oh, well, who else can we put you in? Chris Bartlett, of course, does already play multiple droids and multiple people in
Right.
there. We were talking to Leilani Shu about who else that she would love to play and fan cast her as, a live action Chopper. I think that
Yeah,
would
why not? Why not?
be absolutely hilarious. And after the, spoiler ban is over, that I want to see Tate Fletcher in something else. I
Yeah.
love the work that he's done as Paz Vizsla this season. I want to see Tate as something else. I think he mentioned himself, and I thought it was better. I didn't even think of this. Is Tate as a live action Wrecker? I mean, he's got the stature, he's got the
Hey,
swagger. I think that would be
yeah.
excellent as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm just visualizing that now. He actually, that's who it reminded me of. When I was watching Paz Vizsla this season, because we know whether it's official or not, and if anyone didn't get to watch it, the live watch along with Tate Fletcher, please do check that out on the
That is
Virtual
our
Cantina
featured
Network.
video on our YouTube channel right now, so check that
Right,
one.
right. It's awesome. I managed to hear the first part of it, and then the time zone issue kicked in again. But he was an awesome guest, and that's a fantastic fan casting right there as Wrecker, because that's exactly who I couldn't put my finger on it watching season 3, but I kept every time there was a shot of Paz Vizsla amongst all the Mandalorians. He's got such a standout stature and a particular gait that
Mhm.
he's an entirely unique person. You don't need to hear his voice to know that he is a main character of the Mandalorians, amongst the cast of, the dozens they had there. And he has the exact build of Wrecker. That's such a good shout. He would be an awesome live action Wrecker, especially just being in the armor. And again, if the face is covered, or it's a mixing of the voice, or it's a voice actor doing the dialogue and an actual actor doing the performance physically, that could definitely work really well, for sure.
Well, and let's look at here again is we're at that point in the Lucasfilm panel where they're talking about the Mandalorian.
What's that?
Is they're talking about in the Lucasfilm panel is talking about the Mandalorian.
Right.
And brought out all of the kind of stars and stuff on screen. I think they were talking really more about things that are now in the past tense, because this wasn't Mando season 4, right? They were talking Mando season 3. Yeah.
I believe that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course, the people that were there and present and won the lottery got to come back and watch Paz Vizsla, Tate's ultimate episode a week ahead of time, and kudos and congratulations for all of those people, our friends and people on the channel and everyone who got to see that and kept it a secret for a week, because I did not get it spoiled for me, and I know a number of people personally that were in the room and a ton of people from the group that were there. So thank you all. You guys did an amazing job not spoilering that.
Yeah. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your silent service.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is such an incredible bonus. And I think that is really showing you the value of attending Celebration live in person, if you can. The fact that you get that kind of, not just a special look, but an actual treat at the end of, and if I recall correctly, did that the screening of chapters of the penultimate episode that happened at the end of day 1? Is that right?
I believe so, yes. You came in the morning and you did Lucasfilm first, and then you got your wristbands to come back that evening and watch along again, similar to the way that they did for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
In Anaheim.
Of course. And we remember, talking post Anaheim on our show last year. I remember your your passion. It felt like you were really, really blown away by that experience of
Completely.
the exclusive Obi-Wan. Not just an extra trailer, a 3-minute trailer, but a whole. Did you get 2 episodes last year?
We did.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Is that hadn't been out yet? They that would have been a bit much if they'd given you the last 2 episodes of Mando. That'd have been crazy. But that one, they brought us in and sucked us in to watching Obi-Wan from that. It was really good marketing. Mando, we were already watching, but they gave out the really. I think that was probably the. Well, we'll get into it, and we'll have a talk again about like the last of Mando. That'll be a whole other show we've got. But I think that was the most emotional of all the episodes this season. I really think was the second, not the finale, but the one before.
Yeah, that 7th episode was the best one of the season, and that it ain't saying much, but it was a good episode.
Yeah, like I said, we'll get to another discussion. So if you want to discuss and talk about that, watch us again on a future episode, and we'll get more into those.
Yeah, and please send us your questions and comments as we always say in our wrap up at the end of the week. That it's so nice to have that interaction with everyone, and with each other, and it can really help us have an awesome structure and like a table of contents for our next dedicated episode. So any thoughts, feelings, criticisms, concerns, expectations about Mandalorian season 3, we'll hear all your takes, and we'd love to address them when we do our Mandalorian season 3 wrap.
And I think if you have a different take, you will see your different take, because just knowing the 3 of us, I think we have 3 different takes right here on this season as well. But future episodes.
Really? Yeah,
sure. I believe so.
Yeah.
Anyway, like more of Mando season 3, just to see.
Don't say.
Dave and John, other things on here on the panel, and then this is if you can't see it going on, we have the Skeleton Crew. I think this is the miss of Celebration. Is I wanted to know more about Skeleton Crew. And Gio, did you get to know more about Skeleton Crew being there in real life than we did? Not. I don't know, because I did not get enough information on Skeleton Crew that I really wanted here. And I haven't seen a trailer yet. Is the trailer out there? I think it might be.
Yeah.
But people that were there in person did, I'm pretty sure, get to see a trailer. But I want more. I want to know more. I want to know when it is. I want to know what's happening. What are people's thoughts?
Okay, so just quickly from me, I think Skeleton Crew is not a project I was ultra excited about when it was first announced.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be because of their marketing has been a deliberate way. They've been very sketchy with the details, a lot of intrigue and mystery behind it, or there has been since it was first announced. But I think it was a swing and a miss from Lucasfilm to not give more of the Skeleton Crew. I think that's a little oversight on their part. However, having said that, I haven't heard all the opinions. I was not at the Celebration stage on day 1. I was not in the Lucasfilm showcase. I don't know what was shown. I don't know what was discussed.
I was wondering was there more buzz about it, like there was for Acolyte? Acolyte, there was buzz. There were other panels. There were other things on the live stage that were about it. I know you weren't in Lucasfilm, but was there that more buzz about Skeleton Crew at Celebration in general?
No, nothing like the Acolyte. So on the ground, IRL, just on the word of mouth, like what's everyone talking about? What's everyone hyped to see? For day 1, it was the Acolyte, and it was the massive announcement of the 3 movies from the showcase, which I cannot believe we haven't mentioned that yet. But we're
getting there. We're going in the order that I think it was the order. I don't know.
No, that's okay.
We're getting
just a little bit of news at the end. The Skeleton Crew, I think, wasn't on the tip of people's tongue. People weren't like, oh, what's that? Or unexcited, or have you seen, I've heard he's in it, I heard she's in it, I heard they are writing it. But the Acolyte had all of that. And going top billing, I think, for word of mouth buzz in person in Celebration was Ahsoka. Ahsoka was, and I say this as word of mouth, I mean literally physically word of mouth, because no one's phones were really working consistently during the Excel experience. So we could only go by, if we were there with our friends or family, or, making friends with people in the lines and in the queues, go by what people's opinions were. We didn't really have the access. We couldn't watch along on our phones while we were there IRL, which I know is something that Gen Z do a lot. Please don't do that. Have respect. Put your phones away if you are there in real life, please. Experience it with your eyes and ears. You can watch it live afterwards. But yeah, all the top billing was Ahsoka. Ahsoka, Ahsoka, Ahsoka.
Well, and I think that's evidenced from everything. And you're going to hear way more about this. And if you do want to hear way more about this, you need to watch Rebels Revisited on our Monday night show, Monday night 9 with Ashley Brenzo and Mark Von Olen. I think we've got a special guest host this week on Monday night. But join them and watch, because so much of the hype about Ahsoka was Ahsoka as it relates to Rebels, almost to the point where this could be another season of Star Wars Rebels, but in real life as opposed to animated. But yeah, the buzz around this and the seeing all of the characters from Star Wars Rebels come into live action.
Right.
Huge. You got to watch Rebels Revisited for more of that content, and there will be as more content on the page as a whole. Is I might get my hand slapped for announcing this, but I think it's been announced. Maybe it has been, maybe it hasn't. Is we're going to start later as summertime starts here, a run up to the Ahsoka show. Is all of our watch alongs are going to be themed to essential episodes and things you need to know about Ahsoka Tano if you don't already. Essential Clone Wars episodes, essential Rebels episodes, and Tales of the Jedi even was so important as Ahsoka's backstory. I think we may even do one of those big kind of crossover events from all the shows, like we did for March to Mandor and March to Mandalorian, and Andor August, and then some more, and then some more.
It went a little bit longer.
So there's really going to be kind of a special event and a lot of that coming, because there was a lot of that at Celebration. And talk a little bit more about it. We're looking at a slide right now of the announcement of Sabine Wren.
Right. Okay. So I can tell you, in real life, everyone at the Star Wars live stage on day one who were there for the announcement and the unveiling of the Ahsoka trailer obviously could not be at the Lucasfilm Showcase. You physically could not. It's too big a center that even if the timings had worked out, you couldn't be in two spaces at once. So that was a world premiere for us. Okay. I don't know if it was technically a world premiere, because my sensing is that they debuted the trailer online an hour and a half later after we saw it at the live stage. Gigantic. People were clapping. Everyone was standing anyway, because there's standing room only at the live stage. But it was literally standing ovation every time the scene changed in the Ahsoka trailer. There were gasps. There were there was what? It was every single character from Rebels and legacy character, I would say, was revealed in real life in the Ahsoka trailer. People were going wild. It was bantha bananas. That genuinely, it was crazy. And from the conversation afterwards, people loved the look of Sabine Wren. People really, really think that's the perfect casting. And Natasha Liu Bordizzo, I don't think is a household name until she was announced as, they do that kind of what's the term? End of school yearbook type photo release they do of the casting of a new Star Wars project when Disney and Lucasfilm officially release it to the public. That was the first time I'd seen her as an actress being named in a big project. And so I've looked into her a little bit more beforehand. But yeah, this is her first, headlining role, and people are loving Sabine Wren, the live action version, just from the seconds we got in the trailer.
And then again, live action Hera Syndulla.
Okay, this one is extra buzz. And the reason why is because the deep cut, if you're in the fandom, is if you're one of Mark Hamill's UPFs, ultra passionate fans, as Mark Hamill always calls us super nerds, she has skin in the game for Star Wars already in her personal life.
Yes.
So knowing Mary Elizabeth Winstead is the wife of Ewan McGregor, the crowds are already crazy for her. They're already standing there with bated breath to hear her every syllable at the live stage. I can tell you, people were. It was. I think it was too much. So when people saw her as Hera, and the thing is, it's very different for her because she's playing a Twi'lek, so she's not instantly recognizable unless you know the actress quite well and you've seen her many times as who she is in real life. So people, not everyone had the same reaction, being like, "Oh my God, it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera Syndulla." People were just going crazy seeing Hera for real, and loving that. She fits in. She looks organic. She looks like her costume and makeup looks good. I think very clearly, if you just know Star Wars Rebels very superficially, you can say, "Hey, yeah, that's Hera. That's one of the main characters in Rebels." So yeah, people loved it.
Well, and I liked, here's my take on this. I think I mentioned this on CNN as well, is the uniform that she pops up in is like a New Republic Rangers uniform. She's wearing the same one that we've already seen, like everybody in the bar wearing at Mando, and you're like, what?
Exactly. And I think that's a great little nugget and Easter egg for us, because we know that unfortunately Lucasfilm does have this track record now of being very much, we'll announce something cool and then we'll cancel it later down the line. The project will never see the light of day.
Yeah.
And we know that Rangers of the New Republic was one of those shows announced. And then obviously behind the scenes things changed, and we currently don't know what the situation is. To my knowledge, they haven't officially said that's never happening, but it is now not on the roster anymore.
Oh yeah.
So that's a huge shame, because I think the issue with Gina Carano aside, and that's a different conversation for another time, the concept behind it from Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, it was really cool, and I like it. I dig it, and I think that show could work potentially with or without her character from The Mandalorian being the main character in that show. So to see an homage to the New Republic just in that second, that this screenshot, awesome photo we're looking at right now with Hera, I think is awesome.
Yeah, and then not to gloss over it, is live action, CG Chopper. I assume that's CG Chopper. We get that as well, but we get a look quickly at Ezra. The speculation on how long that's going to be, or how much we're going to see of Ezra in this. Not to gloss over, but there's so many things, and there's stuff we haven't even covered yet, because boom, we want to get to this right here. Lucasfilm announced 3 new film projects. Okay. Feelings, thoughts, craziness. Here, I'll just summarize. Okay.
Go for it.
The very first ever Jedi, 25,000 years before anything we've really seen before, is how the Jedi Order started. I've characterized this several times this way, is Filoni's version of the Avengers. Is he's done the MCU kind of build up with their shows on all these characters, and he's going to get not a show, he's going to get a movie to be the culmination of the Mandoverse. Mm-hmm. And then oh my gracious, the return of, and don't get me wrong, because everybody's going to discount, you're saying, oh, you're excited about seeing Daisy Ridley again, you're going to see Rey, is what all the trash from the sequel trilogy. And I'm like, I have very specific issues with the sequel trilogy, in certain movies from here to there or the other. Any of those issues, I do not attribute to Daisy Ridley herself. I thought, her performance and her importance as Rey to a generation of young girls is obviously there. And seeing her again and seeing her brought back to helm, to head, to be the face of a new movie, I think is perfect. And I think it's also perfect that they chose to announce this as one movie right now, not, there's going to be a new trilogy with the new Jedi Order, because we would have just gone, really? Again? No.
Yeah.
Aren't we doing that anyway?
Are we?
I am hopeful for that one. I know people are. Yes, there are people, because if they continue to do with it some of the failings of the sequel trilogy, yes.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the failings of behind the scenes. For instance, everybody loves the Carson Teva character. Yes. Why wasn't Rangers of the New Republic reoriented to be around his character? It's like, duh,
I'm hoping that's what they're doing with
I'm not a fan of this whole idea that we have to cancel whole projects because somebody says one thing we don't like. It's like, you can never do a complete background check for the entire life of some, like, who knows? Something could come out one day saying that one of the major actors of the sequel trilogy said something or did something, and it's like, what, are you going to cancel a project then mid-production? It's like, you got to move past this stupidity of the Twitter mob getting upset and us completely altering our plans for that. So I'm kind of holding these announcements with a grain of salt, because you never know what's going to happen,
We never know.
Well, I mean, we've been laying money on, I think in private circles, is which one of these is the going to be the first one to go. And I think a lot of money has been laid upon the fact that
there's money in that.
The Daisy Ridley one, you're not going to bring Daisy out at Celebration, we hope, but we thought this with Patty Jenkins and Rangers, without actually having some plan and that it being close to fruition. I think the James Mangold, The First Jedi, is kind of the reach in this one. In Filoni we trust, so that one's going to happen. That one's there. They've had this one in their pocket since they started The Mandalorian. I am fully convinced that Filoni and Favreau, this one's written. It's next to all but done with directed. They've acted it out with little figures on their screen and have.
Oh yeah, they've had their Hasbro and their Kenner figures together. Yeah, for sure.
But they do need to get new writers going forward for these other series. I'm losing my faith in John and Dave after season 3 of Mandalorian. As far as writing, they need help.
I agree. To summarize for season 3 Mandalorian, and obviously we'll have a full deep dive later, the writing was the most disappointing part of season 3, but that is very easily rectified. That's a really easy problem to solve. It's a good problem to have, because I think Mandalorian generally as a show, not just season 3, still fires on most of its cylinders. The writing is the weakest part.
Well,
so
I
if
think
they can find a good writer for the film will be awesome.
We're going to have to say this again later in the things, is let John and Dave write it if they're not the ones writing it. I think, and take your time and do what you need to with it. I think season 3 could have been season 3 and season 4. There are so many things that they just glossed over, that they moved, like the episode where they go and they find the Imperial base, Moff Gideon's base. They just glossed past so many things in that episode that could have been 3 separate episodes easily. And I'm hoping that the writing and the things in there are due to time constraints of this being a series. But yes, you're right. We need some sort of different pace to elaborate on a lot of the things and not rely upon, this is an Easter egg to go research on your own and figure out all of this other things. We love little Easter eggs, but so much of it is you have to hunt for it on your own. Is some of it we need to see some more of it. Show us.
Yeah, we do.
That's why I'm
definitely
skeptical
true.
even after watching the Ahsoka trailer, because I'm like, the trailers for Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi were pretty awesome too, and then,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
then that happened.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
they
Well,
were.
my
were.
favorite comment this week, if you had taken half, 2/3 of season 3, The Mandalorian, and you had given us a season of the Book of Bo-Katan, we'd have been happy.
well, yeah, because Bo-Katan for the most part seemed to be more or less the protagonist for most. Well, we'll get to that when we review.
Yeah, we'll get it. But that's my
We
favorite
will.
comment. If you had given us
Yeah.
that and then given us the other third of these things, but spread out and
Yeah,
more explained.
yeah, definitely. I fully endorse that statement. I think that the Book of Boba Fett showed us that the Book of Boba Fett was awful in summary, but it had some awesome chapters, and the Return of the Mandalorian was an absolute standout. Everyone can agree on that.
Yeah.
But some surgery was needed. They needed to surgically excise the filler and a lot of the writing
Okay,
and a lot of the action from the Book of
I
Boba
love
Fett.
that.
Give me this.
I gotta clip that line. The Book of Boba Fett showed us that it was awful.
So hear me on this one. If you had taken
the
the
Book of Boba
Mando
Fett.
episodes of the Mando-centric episodes of Book of Boba Fett, and you had taken the Mando-centric episodes of Mando season 3, which were like the first couple of them,
first 3,
and you had
They're only
introduced those as Mando season 3 after you had seen Book of Boba Fett minus the last 2 episodes or 3 episodes, and Book of Bo-Katan, which was the last 5 episodes.
I think episodes 2, 7, and 8 were the only episodes of value in season 3.
And then you get the Return of Grogu, and you get the thing with the pirates on Navarro, which I'm assured is going to be important as we go along, and it's going to be important.
Oh yeah, I know
that's a big filler piece, but
I heard some things. I'll just say, I think the
filler for season 3. Out, so. Get out! You gotta excise that.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think the Book of Boba Fett showed us that the idea of having a series called the Book of a Character can work if it's a character people already love, but they know that the series is just a title. There will be other characters that have a lot of screen time as well, because that is a major issue with every Star Wars TV series so far. It's always named after one character, and you still get people who go to the end of the season and their biggest complaint is, well, I didn't see enough of Obi-Wan in Obi-Wan. What? It was called Obi-Wan, but hey, The Mandalorian has other characters apart from Din Djarin. Grogu is top billing with Din in the whole of season 1 of The Mandalorian, but it's not called The Mandalorian and the child.
Yeah,
it's just called The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and I mean, I would take going forward a Book of Grogu. Just give us some and
I don't know about that.
But okay, we got to save that for another show.
Yeah,
but anyway, so that's our time for today and our celebration recap. And okay, people, there's so much more content to watch, and this is just our little bit and our little take. Go out there and watch the 4 episodes of Celebration Nightly News. Go watch Rebels Revisited. Rebels Revisited is going to have a celebration centric, I think, episode tomorrow, Monday. And join us Tuesdays. Join us Tuesdays for happy hour, where this whole argument that we're having and discussion, and you can go in 47 different directions. This happens with 6 or 8 people, and it always goes, and it's always fun.
Yeah.
So join us for some more content. Thank you for coming and watching with us today. And look out for and give us suggestions for more things that you want to hear here in this space. And rest assured that one of them will be like an entire hour or hour and a half of this argument about Mando season 3.
Yeah, we already have that on the docket, essentially. Yeah. Coming right up.
All right. And until then, everyone, may the Force be with you.
Thank you. May the Force be with you. This is the way.